What's up everybody, I'm Paul and welcome to the Hayward Jewelry YouTube channel. So we all know that diamonds are expensive, but how do we actually place a value on a diamond? Well, that's what I'm going to show you in this video, and I'm going to take you through the process that I personally go through if ever I'm given a diamond and people ask me to value it. So let's get started. So step number one is you need to identify the stone is actually a diamond, and this is something a lot of people overlook when they get a stone in and they need to value it. So the first thing you need to do is identify that it's a diamond and not a diamond simulant, something like a CZ or a synthetic moissanite. Now a lot of people will use something like this, which is a diamond tester. You can also get moissanite testers as well, but these things aren't 100% foolproof. Even though a lot of people think they are, they actually aren't. This is because things like humidity can affect the actual tester, and you can get almost like false positives or false negative results. And this is why I only use these kind of testers on very small stones, when you're talking about melee size stones up to around about 2mm. For stones larger than this, all you need is actually a 10 times loop. That is all you need to identify a stone, whether it's a diamond, whether it's a synthetic moissanite, or whether it's a cubic zirconia, because they all have their own telltale signs about which stone is which. And when you know what you're looking for, it only takes a couple of seconds looking through a loop to be able to identify which stone is which. So step number two, once you've identified the stone as a diamond, is you need to establish whether it is a natural diamond or it is a synthetic diamond. Now synthetic diamonds go by a lot of different names. You can have things like man-made diamonds, lab-created diamonds. There's lots of different names out there, but for this video we're just going to stick with synthetic diamonds. And when we're checking synthetic diamonds, we do need to use advanced equipment. Even though some stones which have been HPHT created can be identified by using a loop, it's much better to use some more advanced equipment that gives you a much better result. And these are things like the Gem Etrich Jewelry Inspector that starts from around about $650. A friend of mine who's a valuer has got one of these and she speaks very highly of it. Then you've got things like the Gem Pen, which is around about $2,500. The Yehuda Sherlock Holmes machine, which I've personally used and I think is fantastic, which is around about $6,500, all the way up to De Beers Synth Detect, which is around about $18,000, so at the very high end of the budget. But you can see there's options available for all different budgets out there. And what these machines work on is they work on long wave and short wave ultraviolet light. And we're looking at the fluorescence and phosphorescence in the diamond to be able to establish whether it is a natural or a synthetic diamond, which is a very important part of the process because there is a big difference, and the gap is actually widening between synthetic diamonds and lab created diamonds. So step number three is you need to check for treatments, and you need to do this before we move on to anything else when we start assessing and grading the stone, because there's certain treatments that are out there that can't actually be graded. And treatments fall into two main categories. You've got clarity treatments, which are things like laser drilling and fracture filling. Sometimes it can be both of those. And then you've got color treatments, which can be very basic things such as coating to the girdle or pavilion of the diamond, up to things like irradiation and annealing, all the way up to HPHT, which is high pressure, high temperature treatment. And for these two latter ones, you are going to need to use advanced lab equipment for that. And for this, it's always better to send it off to a professional who can do it for you, because these machines to do this are expensive, and you do need to have experience of what you're looking for in order to be able to identify what kind of treatment the stone has had. So that's for color treatments, but things like clarity treatments you can actually identify with a normal 10x loop. So now we know that we've got a diamond, we know whether it's natural or synthetic, and we also know whether it's treated or not. Now it's time to actually move on and start assessing and grading the diamond, and this is where the 4 C's come into play. Now you can do these in any order you want, it doesn't really matter, so I'm just going to go through them in the order that I would actually go through whenever I'm testing a diamond. Now the first one that I always personally do is I will look at the colour of the diamond, and to do this we need to identify the body colour of the stone. Now I see a lot of people when they're looking through the table of the diamond and say, oh, this is a so and so colour stone. That is wrong. That is not how you do colour grading, and I'm going to show you where you need to look, because I have a lovely big CZ here. How awesome is that? No, that's not a diamond. If it was a diamond, I wouldn't be making YouTube videos. But what you want to do is you want to look somewhere between around about a third and halfway down between the girdle of the diamond and the coulee of the diamond, somewhere in this area here. Look side on. That's how you're going to be able to establish the body colour of the diamond, because the way a lot of diamonds are cut, especially brilliant cuts, is to reflect the most light back at you, so you don't get a true representation of the body colour. That's why we need to look through the side of the diamond. Now when it comes to doing this, there's a couple of grading scales we can actually use, but the most popular one is from the GAA and the one that most people are going to know, and this is the one that runs from D to Z, but most people will only actually grade from D to M, and anything that's greater than M will just be classed as tinted. Now obviously when it comes to value, the higher up the scale it is, the more valuable the diamond's going to be. So a D, E and F colour diamond is going to be much more valuable than an M colour diamond. So the next of the 4 C's and step number 5 in my process is to have a look at the clarity of the diamond, and this is where we're looking for how free the diamond is from inclusions. And for this, once again, all we're going to need is our 10 times loop, and what we're going to do is going to look through the top of the stone. So we're going to look through the table and the crown of the stone and see what inclusions we can see. Now once again, there's a couple of different grading scales out there. There's the most popular one from the GIA, which runs from flawless down to I3. There's also one from Sibjo as well. I think I forgot to mention that on colour, but Sibjo also do a colour scale as well. But GAA is the most popular one in the world, and the one that most of us will actually refer to when we're doing any kind of grading or assessing on a diamond. And once again, the higher up the scale it is, the more valuable the stone is going to be. So a flawless stone is going to be worth much more than something like an SI1 or an SI2 stone. So that's the next step, is to look at the clarity of the diamond. So step number 6, we're going to be looking at the cut of the stone. And a lot of people actually get cut wrong because they think when we're talking about cut, we're talking about the style of cut, but that's not actually what we're looking at. Instead, we're looking at the quality of the cut on the stone. And for this, we're looking at 3 main things. We're looking at the proportions of the stone. So this is things like the table size, the crown angle, the pavilion angle, things like girdle thickness and coulée size can also come into the proportions as well. The second one we're looking at is the symmetry of the stone. So if you imagine we got a stone, I'll get my CZ back again. So if we got this stone and we drew an invisible line straight down the center of it, how evenly matched are the left and right sides of the stone? That's what we're talking about, symmetry. And finally, we're looking at the quality of the final polish, because a good quality diamond will have no kind of evidence of polish on it, but poor quality diamonds can sometimes have polishing marks on the facet, or sometimes burn marks where they've been overheated when they're being polished. So those are the 3 elements that make up the cut quality of the diamond, and that's what we're looking at. You'll see things mentioned like triple X, which is triple excellent, which means it scored excellent in all 3 of the things I just mentioned. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the cut of the diamond. It's the quality of the cut, not the style of the cut. So step 7 and the final of the 4 C's is we're going to weigh the diamond, which is carat. And if you don't know what a carat is equal to 0.2 grams. So a 5 carat stone weighs 1 gram. Nice little bit of information for you there. And when we're weighing diamonds, obviously the heavier the stone is, the more valuable it is, especially when you're comparing all the other things and they are identical. So for example, a 1 carat diamond is going to be worth much more than a 0.5 carat diamond. But there are also milestones when you hit that does result in jumps in values in diamonds. So things like a 1 carat diamond, a 2 carat or a 5 carat diamond will see a significant jump in the value of that stone. So a 1.01 carat diamond, for example, is going to be worth quite a bit more than 0.98 carat diamond of the same quality, even though visually there'll be basically no difference between these 2 stones because it's a minimal amount of weight. But when you put it on the scale and it goes over that 1 carat, you'll see a significant jump in the value of the diamond. So step number 8 is you want to check the fluorescence of the stone, because this is something that can have an impact on the value of the diamond. Now this is something that may have been noted when you was checking to see whether the stone was natural or synthetic, because we was looking at the fluorescence of the diamond, and it's something that you may have noted. But if it hasn't been, it's something that you do want to check. This is because stones with strong and very strong fluorescence are going to be worth less than the equivalent diamond with little to no fluorescence. And the reason for this is stones with very strong fluorescence, and sometimes strong fluorescence, can negatively impact the visual appearance of the stone, because some of these diamonds can have almost a milky or kind of cloudy appearance to them, and they can actually fluoresce slightly in daylight. Now this doesn't happen with every stone with strong and very strong fluorescence, but it is something that you do want to be aware of. And because this is something that's kind of known in the trade, but isn't actually completely explained properly in the trade, anybody will class a stone with a strong or very strong fluorescence as worth less than the equivalent stone that has little to no fluorescence. So it is an impact on the value of the diamond. So step number 9 is you want to check the price of the diamond. And I bet you're thinking, well, yes, Paul, that's why we're watching a video about diamond value. But what I mean by this is you want to check the trade price list. And the industry standard for this is the Rappaport Diamond Report, which comes out every single Thursday. And this is a price list that looks at round brilliant stones and also pear cut stones, which can then be applied to other fancy cut stones. But it lists the price of stones of certain qualities. So you things like GVS diamonds of different weights. Now it is also based on the cut quality being triple excellent. So if your stone's not triple excellent, you are going to have to factor in discounts for stones that aren't triple excellent cut. But this price list is a great resource to actually check how much stones are going for in the trade. But this isn't the be all and end all, because some styles of cuts do attract quite significant discounts depending on their popularity. And this is where having a good relationship with a diamond dealer can come in very handy, because you can just contact them and say, what kind of discount are you offering on this style of cut? And generally it goes on the popularity of the cut. So I'll give you an example of this. A few years ago, Cushing cuts generally had quite a large discount because they weren't a particularly popular stone. Then Harry and Meghan got engaged, she had Cushing cuts in her engagement ring, and the price of Cushing cuts went up and the actual demand increased, so the discount on these stones decreased a lot. But there's certain cuts that just generally aren't that popular, and the one that always comes to mind is the heart cut, because this usually attracts the biggest discount because there's only a certain number of people who actually want this style of cut in their ring or in their jewelry. So these do attract the biggest type of discounts, and this is something you need to know when you're valuing a diamond, because you need to know what the kind of discounts are on certain style of cuts in order to accurately place a value on that stone. So the final thing that can impact the value of diamond is whether or not the stone is accompanied by a lab report. Notice I said report there, not certificate. That is because diamonds come with reports, not certificates, like everybody seems to say with certified diamonds. They're not certified diamonds, but I'm going to cover that in a separate video. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell to get a notification of when I post that video. But lab reports accompanying a diamond can have an impact on the value of that diamond. This is because people like to have reports with their stones, but not all lab reports are valued the same. So if you've got a report from IGI, for example, it's not going to add as much value to the stone as a report from someone like GIA, which is known as basically the industry standard when it comes to lab reports. So a stone with a GIA report is going to attract a premium over that with an IGI report, and much more than that over the stone that doesn't have a report with it. So that is something you do need to consider, is what report is accompanying the stone and what gem lab actually produced that report. But then a lot of people ask me, Paul, why don't you just go off the information that's in that report and figure out the value based off that? What's the point in going through and checking the stone yourself? The reason you need to do this is you need to know that that stone actually matches that report. So you need to go through and check the color, check the clarity, check the quality of the cut, see if there's any treatments on the stone, so that you know that that stone matches up with that report. Because there's a lot of occasions where stones actually don't match reports, and this can cause a lot of problems. So always make sure that you check the stone independently and then match your information against that that's in the report to make sure the two actually match up. So those are the 10 steps I'll go through to value a diamond. And if anybody was coming here hoping for a kind of like quick fix, one-step method, you're going to be disappointed. This is because it is quite an in-depth process to actually value a diamond, because you need to do lots of checking on the stone to know exactly what you have in order to be able to apply the correct value to that stone. You also need to have knowledge of the market as well. You need to know what kind of discounts are available for certain type of stones. You need to know what's popular. You also need to understand what kind of like the second-hand market is like. What's the demand for that stone? So there's a lot of knowledge and experience goes into valuing a diamond, and that's why if you are having a diamond valued by somebody, you're gonna have to pay for this service, because it does take time to go through and value a diamond accurately. But I hope you found this video helpful. I also hope you found it enjoyable and you've learned something from this video and the process that gemologists and valuers or appraisers, whatever you want to call them, go through when it comes to valuing diamonds. It is a fascinating process, and it's something that's a challenge every single time I get given a diamond to have a look at, grade and appraise. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please drop a like on it. Also, as I mentioned, if you'd like to hit that subscribe button and notification bell to get notifications whenever I post a video on this channel. So once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.